and I did a forced reset for one of my ARs, and I had to actually slow the cycle rate down with a heavier buffer and spring so that it would be more reliable.
Oh my gosh. That's unbelievable. I couldn't afford to live in free America. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Armed Lifestyles Writing Shotgun with Charlie. And I have this wonderful opportunity to talk with Stephen Willeford again. Of course, we all know Stephen Willeford from the Sutherland Springs Baptist Church incident, where he was the barefoot defender and chased down the bad guy with I always tell people he grabbed his AR, he grabbed a high cap magazine and a handful of ammunition, and a handful of ammunition is 8 rounds of 223. So that's what I like to tell people. So Stephen, thank you so much for being on. It's great to see you.
And it's great to see you again, Charlie. I hope the Gundies are coming up. I hope you win your
Well,
category.
I did find out that I did not make it to the top five, but
Oh
I
yeah.
will be attending the Gundies. So I'm looking forward to that SHOT Show week, and I think this is supposed to drop around SHOT Show time. So um, you're going to be going to SHOT Show, correct?
Absolutely.
Awesome. And you're going to be coming to the Gundies as well?
I am for the first time this year. I am coming to the Gundies.
Excellent. It's a good time. It's interesting. It's fun to go to an award show. I use air quotes when I say award show, but to go to something like this where people in our community get recognized for the hard work that they do. And I got to tell you, I thought it was great. Early in December, I was out having dinner with my son, and I got a phone call from you, and you're like, "Hey, Charlie, I was just going through to vote for the Gundies, and it was between you or a nationally syndicated female radio host, and I voted for you." And I'm like, "Oh man, that was
Well,
real.
I
That was
figured you had enough support that you needed all the support you could get, you know.
absolutely, absolutely." So,
And that for me, because I do love her a whole lot, that was a really hard decision.
well, she made it to the top five, and I did not. So I do appreciate your vote. And she was, like you said,
Without
she was still getting there.
That's kind of what I thought is should do that without me.
Right.
So I was hoping that you would make it also.
Oh man, I don't know how close I was. I'd like to find out, but I don't know. Maybe I gotta talk to the powers that be to see if I see where I ranked. I think there were 35 different podcasters that were on the list for Gundies. So I was hoping that the votes kind of spread out enough that since there were a lot of people, you'd only need, instead of needing 51% of the vote, you could probably get away with 23% of the vote or something like that. So anyway, well, I'm looking forward to it. The Gundies are going to be a lot of fun. So
And
let's
I'm
we've already talked about everything that we talked about the incident in Sutherland Springs. You've taken this opportunity, this horrible incident, and turned it into you've turned it into some really good things. Like you've written a book, you've been working with GOA. So let's talk about all that kind of stuff.
Well, yes, I have written a book, and it's a town called Sutherland Springs, and it is absolutely it's about the greatest little small town, Mayberry, USA, and all the people that grow up in cities and stuff, they don't realize the benefits and the joy of living in a small town, especially when I'm fourth generation on the same property.
Oh
And
wow.
uh, and which is really crazy because all three of my kids, all three of their spouses, all built homes on my property before I had the opportunity to actually build a home on the property. And so now all nine of my grandbabies are being raised here on my property. That's the fifth and sixth generations right there. And they walk across the field and come see Nana and Papa. That's
Well,
our that's the greatest title I've ever had in my life
that
is
that's great, and that they're so close and on the property. That kind of boggles my mind. I got to tell you.
yeah, well, I am the most blessed man that you will ever meet.
Hmm.
Uh, since the shooting, I started working with Gun Owners of America. I became a firearms advocate for our rights and stuff before I took the job working for Gun Owners of America. And honestly, with my story, I guess I could have worked with any of the pro-gun groups out there. Uh, However, I believe in the no compromise mantra of the uh, Gun Owners of America, GOA, and that's who I choose to work for because we're doing more for the fight than any other organization. And it's just been my pleasure. They've made me national spokesperson, and I get to go out and fight at your capitals for your rights wherever tyrannical bills pop up, or fight for your rights when good bills come up. And so, and I get to go to things like SHOT Show and things like that, also do book signings. And what an amazing thing. Since the shooting, I've gotten opportunities. I met with Donald Trump twice. You know, how crazy is that?
I I think you told me about this at the Rod of Iron when we were not doing a show one time.
And
Um, yeah, so
the
tell us about that.
so very structured.
Yeah.
People say, well, what's Donald Trump like? Well, I really can't tell you other than the fact that I've met with Don Jr. Several times.
Hmm.
And I tend to see a man through his children and how responsible and how good his children are and stuff. And Don Jr. is an amazing man. And so Donald Trump hasn't done everything wrong, obviously, because he's got good kids. And I agree with 90% of what Donald Trump has done
Hmm.
for him all three times. But, uh, so I really can't tell you personally about him other than he was very personal for the very short time that I interacted with him. Uh,
When you got to meet him, it was at like a huge stadium, right?
it's where the Indiana Colts play, Indianapolis Colts play. And they brought me into a room, and that was so funny because I actually got one of his challenge coins, and
That's cool.
the first time I met him, I got his challenge coin, and so the second time I took one of my own challenge coins with me to give him one of mine, and it was so funny because we were standing outside waiting to be brought in to speak with the president.
Hmm.
And the Secret Service was standing at the door. And I looked at the Secret Service officer and I pulled out that challenge coin. I said, Donald Trump gave me a challenge coin last time I met him. I would like to give him one of mine. And I said, I want to know that that's okay because I know that everything's very structured.
Right.
And the Secret Service said, let me check on that for you. And he walked in the room and he came back out. He said, Mr. Willeford, they really don't want you to hand that coin to Donald Trump. He said, but I'm not going to stop you. What does that mean?
Right. Right. It means
But
it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, right?
he said, that means I'm not going to stop you. And I'm like, fine. I stuck it in my hand and I'm thinking when I shake his hand, I'm handing off the coin.
Uh,
But fortunately, when the doors came open, Don Jr. was standing just inside the door. He gave me a big bear hug, said, Mr. Wilford, I came down here. I heard you were here. I came down here to meet you and stuff. And I walked in. I said, look, they don't want me to give this coin to your father, but I want him to have my coin.
mhm.
Took it out of my hand. He stuck it in his lapel pocket. He said, I'll take care of that. I'll give it to him. So
Nice.
I wasn't the one that handed the coin across, and it kept everybody in their structure, and
You know, no rules were broken, but he got the coin.
no rules were broken. And after we took pictures and had a short talk, and I was supposed to exit stage left, um, I looked at him. I said, Mr. President, I said, I carry around a constitution with me, and I have important people like yourself to sign my constitution. I said, I would love for you to sign my constitution. He said, do you have it with me? And I pointed to my wife, and she had it in her coat pocket.
Nice.
Reached down into her coat pocket. Now all of a sudden, Service is running down on her, and Donald Trump waved them off. And and I leaned forward and said, "I told you she was shady."
Oh my God.
I
That's,
make jokes when I get nervous, and she
oh my
stared
God.
daggers into me. And President Trump flipped it right to Article 2,
Mm,
signed across Article 2.
nice.
What's Article 2?
Well, the Second Amendment's the
Oh,
right to the Article 2.
Article 2,
I don't know what Article 2 is.
the powers of the executive branch,
Ah, very cool.
presidential powers.
Very
So
cool.
directly to Article 2 and signed it across the first page of Article 2.
Oh, that's great. That is very cool. I have about five or six of the pocket constitutions, and mine I have one that was signed by Dick Heller right across the Second Amendment, which I thought was pretty cool.
I've got Dick Keller on that too. Uh,
Nice.
so yes, Dick Keller works directly with
He-
Gun Owners of America, and he's such a riot.
oh my
Uh,
gosh, he's a lot of fun to be with.
he's a legend. Last year at SHOT Show, I had the distinct opportunity to take a picture with him and Michael Cargill together.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So for those that might not know who Michael Cargill is or Dick Heller is, the Heller decision was paramount, and it established the right of the people to bear arms, that it wasn't just a militia thing, but the
Mhm.
right of, and so that they can't stop you from owning guns. And that was the Heller decision, Heller versus DC. And Michael Cargill fought the bump stock ban all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said bump stocks were not machine guns and could not be banned. So two legends in our industry, and I was able to meet them at SHOT Show and take a picture with the both of them together. And how cool is that?
That's great. Yeah, Dick Heller's a lot of fun to be with. I have a fun Dick Heller story. I was trying to he and I were both going to an event in New Jersey in, oh my goodness, maybe 2021, I think it was. And I wanted to try to Gabby Franco was going to be there too. So I'm friends with this gentleman. Is John Petrolino is his name. He's a writer for Bearing Arms, and he's got a book and everything. He's from Jersey. He was going to be at the event. I said, hey, we should try to get a we should try to go do sporting clays with Dick and Gabby. That would be a lot of fun. So I called and left a message with Dick, and I was driving through that little strip of Pennsylvania on Lake Erie, and I went into the gas station to go to the bathroom. My son was in the car with me, and I came back, and my phone's ringing, and it says Dick Heller on it. So I told my son, I said, "You have to drive. I got to talk to Dick Heller here." So we get on the phone, and Biden was president, and he was going on about all sorts of, this was happening in France in the 1600s, and back then they used to cut people's heads off, and I'm like, so do you just want to go do trap shooting? Like, can you make this happen? Like, I don't know if we should be talking about decapitating the president on the phone here, but let's try to stay focused on stuff. So, and we actually did not make it happen in 21, but in 23, the CNJFO, the Coalition of New Jersey Firearm Owners, and Women for Gun Rights was putting on an event, and they asked me to MC it, and Dick was one of the speakers. So the day after the event, Petrolino and Gabby Franco and I and Dick Heller and one of the other guys from CNJFO. We went out and did sporting clays in South in somewhere in New Jersey, and it was a lot of fun. It was really cool. Took few years to make it happen, but it was great. Dick's really cool. And Michael Cargill's great too. He's a lot of fun to be with. I've had him on Writing Shotgun. I've done an article on him here at on Arm Lifestyle magazine. So he's a great guy as well. And he funded the whole like his court case. I think he paid for the whole thing. He's got a gun store in Texas, and got it all the way to Supreme Court. And God bless him, man. He's really awesome.
You said you had an interesting Dick Keller story. So do I. I was actually at SHOT Show one time, and I guess just talking to one of the guys that came by the booth, and we started discussing things, and uh, the Heller thing came up, and I told him that it was about the right of the people, and he said, "No, that's not what the Heller is about." He started trying to tell me. I said, "No, no, no. It was established that now that we, the people, have the right." And he started to argue with me, and I turned around and I looked and I said, "Hey, Dick, come over here for a minute." And Dick Keller walks over. I said, "I'd like you to introduce you to Dick Keller." And the guy's mouth just drops open, and I said, "I'll see you guys later."
Right. Can you set this guy straight?
Mic drop moment.
Absolutely.
And I heard Dick Heller say, "Oh, Mr. Williford's correct. This is what it was saying." I was like,
That is awesome.
hey, the guy had no clue that Dick Heller was standing right behind me when he
Oh
started
my gosh.
telling me.
So this is a funny one too. It's the day that we're down there at the Sporting Clays range, and the great thing about Dick is like um he's oh, childlike's not the right word, but he's always in amazement of stuff, right? Oh, like always curious. And so there were some guys that were shooting clays. So Dick went over like out of nowhere, just went over and started asking them questions. And of course, they're looking at him like, "Hey, man, who's this old man? Why is he bothering us?" So Dick walked away, and one of us went over and we're like, "Hey, do you know who that was?" And they're like, "No, we don't know." They're like, "That was Dick Heller." And this guy says, "Oh, well, I'm from New Hampshire." What? I'm from New Hampshire. I don't know who he is. I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. I mean, this is to me, this is how, we to kind of bring it back to what you're doing with GOA. This is why we need to go out and be active and talk at events and have events and make appearances and let people know who these movers and shakers are. Like everyone knows what the Heller decision, well, everybody except the guy you were talking to knows what the Heller decision is. But when you meet him, he's nice and personable and funny and entertaining to be around and everything. And but people don't know, I guess the first time I saw a picture of him, I was doing a rifle instructor course, and the instructor pulled up a picture with him and his daughter and Heller, and he says, "Do you know who this is?" And everyone's like, "We have no idea who this guy is." And he's like, "This is Dick Heller." We're like, "Whoa, holy moly!" So, um,
You know, the right of what he was fighting over in DC was a single action 22 revolver.
yeah, it's
How,
pretty wild.
how ridiculous that they were trying to limit him from owning a single action 22 revolver.
It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. I had a chance to I had a chance to go to Dick's house and hang out with him, and have my picture taken with Dick and his single action revolver with the long barrel and stuff. And he's like, "This is my $1 million gun. Cost me $1 million to be able to own this here in DC." You know?
Well, and it's those people like Dick Heller and Michael Cargill and stuff that are blazing the way forward, that are fighting. I keep asking our lawyer, uh, I want to get in the fight. I want to file a lawsuit. I want to go all the way up. I want the Williford, uh, you know, uh, uh, And he said, "Man, there's no one in the fight as much as you are." He says, "Don't worry about it." He said, "You're in the fight." And I said, "Yeah, but to have a Supreme Court finding, the Willeford
Right.
finding,
The
the
Williford case.
Willeford case, write your name in history." I think all of us
Right.
are owners should want to I guess file lawsuits and have these things fought, and because we're blazing the way people say, "Oh, I don't want to be on a list." Brother, you're already
You're
on the
already on a list.
list. Therefore, you should be signing up for the fight
Mm,
for your children, for your grandchildren, and for the future of this nation.
absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
you
It,
know, if everyone fought as much as you and I did for the Second Amendment, there wouldn't be a fight.
this is true. This is true. It's interesting. I live in Massachusetts, and there's a lot of people that, you know, when you're pouring yourself a cold drink, they'll sit here and talk a big game. But like you said, when it comes to really signing up to do something, they get nervous and scared, and I don't want my name in the paper, and I don't know what if I want to bring this attention to myself, and I might lose my job, and all that sort of stuff. And I get it. Like people, people have to keep making a living and paying their bills and everything. But
Yeah.
it's
Think
yeah,
about
people want to do it, but then when it comes time to do it, they're like, oof,
think about our founding fathers. They were all very wealthy men. They
yeah,
pledged their wealth. They pledged their future. And they knew when they signed the Declaration of Independence, if they were caught, that was their death warrant.
yeah, for sure,
They were living boldly.
for sure,
They
for
lived
sure.
for our future, and some of them died, and some of them were impoverished after it was over.
Hmm.
Wealth had been taken from them and stuff. And yet they were still willing to sign that Declaration of Independence and say, for our future, for
Yeah,
our families, for this nation.
it's
And if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to put yourself out there, then you're not willing to fight for it. You're going to let your grandchildren are going to live in a world that you didn't know, that you don't understand.
right, and you're gonna have to buck up and tell them that you didn't do anything, which is
Again, we,
tough.
we talked a little bit about Ronald Reagan earlier before you started this.
Hmm.
And when I speak, I talk about Ronald Reagan's quote. And again, Ronald Reagan said, "Freedom is no more than a generation away from extinction.
Hmm.
Wasn't handed down through the bloodline, but it must be fought for and protected and handed down for the next generation to do the same. I don't want to spend my twilight years explaining to my grandchildren what it was like living in a free nation."
Mm.
That was his quote. And I would say that he fell short, because what he should have finished it off with was, we must teach our children how to fight. Because if we just hand them down the free nation and don't give them the tools
Yeah.
to carry the fight forward, they'll lose it for the next generation.
Oh, for sure. For
We have
sure.
to we have to not only fight for it, but we have to teach our grandchildren, our children and our grandchildren, how to be bold and fight. And
Mm.
I don't mean fight with firearms. I mean be bold and speak out and fight and be in the fight.
Right. Write your politicians. Write to you're their constituent. They're supposed to be working for us, and I think they
Run for
forget that
office
that's the deal.
or run for office.
Yeah, run for office too. Oh my gosh. I had a friend of mine back in 2018 and in 2020 he ran for office, and I was driving him around to door knock and do all this stuff. So he didn't get elected, but stirred it up a little bit, which was really good.
I ran for county commissioner. I got beat by 54 votes.
54 votes. That's not a lot of people, you know.
Well,
That's
at the time while I was running, COVID was big, and I
Hmm.
had some ideas how I could, well, everybody wanted to social distance, so I couldn't get my name out there. I was
Right.
going to pass out cards at a nursing home. They wouldn't let me in the nursing home.
Oh, geez.
I was going to have a barbecue pit rolling down through the parade with six briskets in it and the smoke rolling off of it saying, meet
Ah.
me into the parade and I'll give you free brisket tacos, butter tacos. And they canceled the parade.
Oh my gosh. That would be
Before,
an incredible way to campaign.
and I tried to let everybody know that my opponent that was running against me, and I was in the runoff,
Hmm.
8,000 in back county taxes.
Wow.
And that was through the Freedom of Information Act that I found that out. He
Hmm.
owed 8,000 in back, and he was running for county commissioner, which takes your county taxes and spends it on the county. And now he owes 30,000 in back taxes and just got indicted for embezzling $150,000
Wow.
from the county.
Right. And he's the one that got elected.
He's the one that got elected.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So
It's
get
just,
out there, even in local elections, and run.
yeah, get active for sure. For sure. So let's go back to the stuff that you do with GOA. I always like seeing on Facebook where it says Stephen Willeford is leaving Texas and he's going somewhere in the country, and I love it because I'm like Stephen's out there like busting his tail, speaking to people, preaching to the preaching to the new folks, preaching to the choir, preaching to everyone his story.
Absolutely. So, and encouraging them to go on and preach their own. Because if I just preach to the choir and everybody I talk to votes the way they should vote, then I still haven't affected anything. They have to
Hmm.
go out and reach out to their circle of friends.
This is true.
Another,
This is true.
another thing that I've been saying quite often in speeches is, when I grew up, and I'm 63 years old, uh, the big saying was at the time is two things you never talk about is politics and religion.
Hmm.
You've probably heard that before.
Of course.
As I get older, I feel like there's only two things worth talking about, and that's politics and
In
religion.
religion, yeah. Yeah, it's
And
interesting. Oh, keep
no,
going. No, keep going.
so the reason politics is because the politics is going to determine the world your children and your grandchildren live in. That's going to determine whether they live in freedom or tyranny. And there's only two options there,
Mm,
freedom and tyranny. And so politics is absolutely important to talk about. And instead of religion, it always used to say politics or religion. I'm going to change it to a different term because religion was created by man, faith was created by God. And that's the most important thing that you speak of. Politics is way up on the list, but your faith is more important than that because no matter what anybody thinks, God isn't political.
mm.
There are more Christians in China than there are here in the United States.
Wow.
And what faith matters, why faith matters, is it doesn't matter as far as the world your kids grow up in, but it has eternal. It's how your kids spend eternity.
Mm.
So
That's
politics dictates the world your children live in, and your faith dictates their eternity. So both of those are absolutely the most important things that you talk about.
Interesting. I like it. I dig it a lot. All right, we've only got a couple of minutes left. Tell us more. Give us. a minute and a half about your book.
Well, a town called Sutherland Springs, it's about what happened in the church
Hmm.
from several perspectives from people that were in the church. And it also is kind of a eulogy for everyone that lost their life in the church. It's what their families wanted the nation to know about their loved one. It's also about raising my children as Christians and faithful. It's about the my bringing up in the community and things like my great grandfather used to dress up like Santa Claus and deliver toys throughout Wilson County when I was a young man. And now I ride my motorcycle dressed like Santa Claus and deliver toys throughout Wilson County even now. I just it just happened.
That's great.
Weekend before Christmas, I rode my Harley Davidson with a group of probably 35, 40 bikes, and we delivered toys all around Wilson County. It's about the kind of town that all the city folks say, oh, I'd never want to live my life in one of those small towns. They've always got their nose in your business.
Mm,
And my thought is if you don't have bad business, it's not a bad thing. Because in your deepest struggles, you'll get a knock on the door, and when you open the door, it's your community offering you a food basket or help in any way they can, because we are more like family than we are neighbors. And people ask me how I could do what I did on November 5th, 2017. I said, how could you not?
mm.
I know everybody in that church. I know everything about them. I know their families. I lost people I cared about. And if I had stayed inside the house when all that was happening, I couldn't look at the man in the mirror. So that's what the book is about. It's about one of the most precious little country towns that you will ever know. It's Mayberry, USA. And that's what the book is about.
Very cool. Well, we're going to put some links to it below. Um, we really need to start wrapping it up here. So, how can people find all the stuff that you're up to? I think you've got a YouTube channel, right?
No, I do not.
No,
I
I thought you did for a while.
I do probably 4 to 8 radio shows or other people's channels a
Okay.
week from
Wow.
Gun America. And you can find Gun Owners of America at gunowners.org.
Hmm.
Sign up. Annual membership is only $25 a year. And you get to be in the fight and you get to know what we are doing as Gun Owners of America. And we've got a lot of stuff going on right now, with trying to get short-barreled rifles, shotguns, and suppressors off the NFA,
Hmm.
uh, fighting the assault weapons bans and things like that. We're fighting state fights, we're fighting local fights, we're fighting national fights. We're pushing as hard as we can for national reciprocity.
Yeah.
And if you believe in the Second Amendment, then you need to be part of Gun Owners of America at gunowners.org.
All right. Perfect. Well, that's a great place to wrap it up. Stephen, thank you so much for being on and giving us the time to talk about everything. Everybody, please check out armlifestylemagazine.com or Arm Lifestyle. I can't remember what it is, but Arm Lifestyle Magazine is where this is where the article is going to be posted, and we'll put the video on the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel. And thank you guys all for tuning in. Thank you for your time, Stephen. We'll talk to you soon.
God bless.